It's something you don't want to go through, and you really don't regret that you've been through it. Because I don't know if you can describe it.
This is the only way 93-year-old longtime Bloomington resident George Christensen can put war into words. It was never his intention to join the deadliest conflict in human history, but times were different then.
And back in those days, going to war was a big thing, you know. It was sort of glorified. And it's not like today.
Long before World War II broke out, George was a young man growing up in the small farming community of Hutchinson, Minnesota. He had 4 siblings and a mother who passed away when he was just 2 years old.
During the Depression, I would work out on farms and work in the woods, chopping wood, and I'd take some of my money and use it to help support the family because times were tough.
At age 14, George dropped out of school in order to work more and help his father provide.
My father was a lover of horses. Sometimes I think he loved his horses more than he did his family. He drove school buses for many years when they had horse-drawn school buses. And he also drove the dray line in Hutchinson, which was to meet the train 3 times a day.
Christensen, along with several buddies, enlisted in the Army National Guard in 1940, and by 1941, they were called into full military service. After completing basic training at Fort Claiborne in Alabama, George, along with other members of the 2nd Battalion, 133rd Infantry Regiment, 134th Infantry Division, soon became the first American troops overseas during World War II.
Spent about 7-8 months in Ireland. Then we went to England. We got attached to Allied Force headquarters.
Even spending several months guarding for Dwight Eisenhower in northern Africa, eventually being shipped back to Europe several months later. Upon landing in Anzio, Italy, Christensen and his unit spent the next 287 days on the front lines, traveling hundreds of miles to Rome, Florence, and eventually Bologna in search of the German army.
You could say I walked it, yeah. Oh, very seldom we got a ride. It's one foot in front of the other one. But it took a year to do it.
In April of 1945, George was honorably discharged from the Army after spending a total of 42 months overseas during World War II, all the while corresponding with his childhood friend Doris back in Hutchinson through letters. When he returned to the United States, he reconnected with Doris, and the two married in 1946. The couple bought their home in Bloomington in 1953 after George became the butcher for Walsh's Grocery, located at 9833 Lyndale Avenue South. 3 sons grew up in that home, and several decades later, George and Doris have no plans on leaving Bloomington anytime soon.
I think Bloomington overall has got good government. I sincerely believe that. I think that we got people in the city council that are really concerned about the city. They're not in it for the politics. And that's what's kind of kept us here all these years.
A courageous and decorated military member with a lifetime of wisdom to share. That's Staff Sergeant George Christensen. In honor of Veterans Day, we'd like to thank you all for your service.